I think it's not fair for teams that go undefeated and spend all year ranked number 1. They got to now go against teams that are ranked 12. And they have a chance to beat the number 1 seed on any given Saturday, on any given Sunday.
Making college football better for more teams. I love this.
It is something about the pristine and being prestigious and special.
Why don't you want the lesser teams to have a chance to beat Goliath?
You're talking about a team that may have finished 4th in their conference. They get a chance to play for the national championship? Hell no.
College Football Board, the playoff board of managers,
we're waiting for this,
has decided on a 12-team college football playoff starting in 2026.
So four more years of 4-team playoff.
In 2026, it's going up to 12.
I like it.
I love it.
I like it.
I don't.
I like it. What don't you like about it, Bray?
It makes no sense to be the number 1 team in the country. It makes no sense to go 13-0 if you got a chance to lose to the 12th ranked team in the country. It makes no difference. Like, the one thing I loved about the BCS that carried over to the playoff system, if you went undefeated, it mattered. If you went undefeated, it mattered. If you balled out, won your division, won your conference, and then you're sitting in the playoffs, it mattered. One got to play 4. One was probably going to be better for 4 in most cases. You were rewarded for being number 1. You're no longer rewarded for being number 1. I get it in basketball. I understand the dance, the tournament, the 64 teams initially back down to 62. I get all of that. Anybody can get it hot in basketball. It's very different. But guys have injuries in football. Guys deal with all types of things. You mean to tell me I go 13-0 and it doesn't matter because now I got to play the 12th ranked team? Last year was the only time that I can think back to the playoff system where there were about 8-9 teams that, you know what, I wouldn't mind seeing them fight for a chance to make the national championship late in the game. I would be upset at all because there were some good teams that were in the top 10. But on average, those teams are like 1 through 5. 1 through 6 at most. You're now allowing 12 teams in there. You're going to put a team that has 3 losses potentially in the top 12, and they have a chance to beat the number 1 seed on any given Saturday, on any given Sunday. I think it's not fair for teams that go undefeated and spend all year ranked number 1. They got to now go against teams that are ranked 12.
But yeah, so there's some breaking news here. The college football playoff voted to go to 12 teams in 2026. If they can get through if they can jump through some hoops, that will be before 2026, but we still don't really know how it will break down. I like this, and I like this for one reason. It gives more teams a chance to make the playoff, and I think you'll see better regular season games in September. If you hate this weekend for Michigan, if you hate the first month of the season for the University of Michigan, expanding the college football playoff helps you. If you don't want to play Colorado State and UConn and Hawaii anymore, this expansion to 12 teams helps you because you can afford a loss in September to a Power 5 conference team and still earn your spot in the college football playoff. You can even maybe drop a game in September and, heaven forbid, drop a game in November and still make the college football playoff. This is about money. This is about making college football better for more teams. I love this.
I disagree, man. And the reason why I disagree with this is because of this. You talk about all that. Football is a hard sport. It's a long season. Basketball, not so much. Basketball, I get it, not so much. Those guys are usually fresh when they play in the dance, just as fresh as they were when they started the season back in November or whenever the season starts. I believe it is November. With football, man, you spend all year busting your ass, man. I'm talking about it's a tough sport. It weighs on you. The thing that made it so exclusive to win a national championship is because you were going against the top 4 teams in the country. You were going against the top 4 teams that have ran their gauntlet. They're conference championships. They're undefeated. They've played in big games early in the year that were in a non-conference schedule. It was 4. It's an elite win. It's no longer an elite win. If you let 12 teams in, like look at 2 years ago in number 12. Wisconsin, 10-4. They got a chance to play against an undefeated LSU. And let's say, for God bid, Joe Burrow was hurt. Wisconsin beats them. That's not fair.
It's wild card, man. Wild card Super Bowl
Yeah,
teams.
but it's not about wild card. It's the best teams. Like football, football has always been in college. The best teams. Whether you want to go back to Luke Rockne, whether you want to go back to Bo Schembechler, who never made national championship, but you want to go back to now, it's always been the best teams have had the opportunity to play for the national championship. Back in the day before the BCS, it was who we decided who was 1 and 2, and they were usually undefeated. Notre Dame or Miami or Oklahoma.
I think so many of these bowl games and so many of these universities are tired of the players that are going pro sitting out. We have seen so much of that over the last couple of years where players sit out. I think if you make the playoff, I think more players will play. And number 2, look, this college football playoff going to 12 games, this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar operation. Multi-billion dollars, maybe 10, 12, 20 billion dollars.
We know it's about money, but
broadcast.
we know money.
Wait a minute, let me make the point. If you are on the 12 teams that make the college football playoff, give each player $100,000. Each player that makes the college football playoff gets $100,000 or $50,000, some sort of monetary gift.
But they're making that now.
But not all 85.
So 85 times, let's say 50 grand. 50 grand. So that's what?
85 times 50 grand.
If you 85 active players,
right,
times $50,000.
But then you have to do that times 12.
Yes, that's right. That's $4.2 million per team. Listen to me.
That's nothing.
That's nothing. Times 12, that's $51 million. Listen, that's $51 million for the 12 playoff
out of
teams.
the 50 billion.
Out of the $20 billion that these TV companies will pay.
I still pay these guys. I still disagree, because if I'm on team 12 and you're offering me $85 million and I did nothing and neither did my team, but here we are sitting 12 and you give me $1 million. And you're giving me 100,000. Boo freaking who? Just stick with the 4. If you wanted to go to 6, I was okay with that. I was okay with 6. I say, you know what? Still holds the integrity, still holds the value. You're still gonna have at least a 2-loss team. Could be a national championship. I don't care about giving extra money. With the NIL, they're giving out enough money. It is something about the pristine and being prestigious and special. It's something about being special. When you see a 1 or a 0, it's something about looking at LSU in 2019 and seeing 15-0.
How many times do you think, and this is just a question I don't have the answer to, but maybe you guys do, or maybe you have a better guess than me. How many more times do you think you'll see a 0 moving forward when you've got teams like USC,
but
USC,
even a
USC,
1,
or
Ryan,
Texas and Oklahoma? How many times are you going to see a 1
Ryan,
moving forward?
I said 1 or 0. I didn't just say 0.
Depends how many Pats you should play.
But when
I agree with Maz on that, though.
When these conferences expand, like for instance, Texas and Oklahoma are going to the SEC. I mean, Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M already in the SEC. That SEC. If you have 2 losses in there, I feel like you should, you know what I'm saying there?
I understand and I like that. But with that being said, Texas had the same money. They've had the same NIL deals, and they've been able to do that when they were in the Big 12. And they can't seem to figure it out. That's not going to change that because they go to the SEC. Unless you're telling me that every team, every business, every corporation, every oil well, everything is going to go behind Texas or Texas A&M so that they can beat the other teams of the SEC. Unless you're telling me something like that, I get it. The only thing I'm saying is it's 0 and 1 are the numbers. If you see a 0 at the end, man, it's prestigious. When you see a 1 at the end, it's prestigious.
Don't you think we'll still see that, though? I mean, again, I go back to
but why chance it with bums? Like, I don't want to.
Well,
because it's. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. Where it's even with the college football with Cincinnati snuck in. What if Cincinnati beats Alabama? And then it's like, oh, Cincinnati, blah blah blah. Like with an injury. Let's say Bryce Young got hurt against Cincinnati.
That's life.
No. Maz, I understand it. You're absolutely right. Ask Miami about that. Willis McGahee blows his knee out against Mike Dawson. Ohio State wins the national championship. I understand it. It's a good conversation to have. I've calmed down. I'm just saying it's something special about looking, because you're going back from 19 1989 or 1990 till now, it's only ones and zeros. It's like binary code.
And
I don't want to see that too.
I think you'll still
Or
see
3 or
that.
4.
I do think you'll still see that, but I do think this gives the opportunity for better games too. Because even just look at the Rose Bowl a year ago. I mean,
Utah and Ohio State.
That was a phenomenal game.
It was a phenomenal game, but Ohio State didn't even have Garrett Wilson.
I know.
Or they didn't have.
They still scored 50.
I understand that, but Garrett Wilson sat out. I mean, you're talking about the Rose Bowl. These kids don't
Look
care
at
about
Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett sat out. K9
These
sat out.
kids don't care about the Rose Bowl or New Year's Six game. So I do think if they're playing for a championship, though, you'll have the best players in college football still playing in the games.
Now, I do like that. I do like that with the caveat that, all right, look, if you're going to add 12 teams, and there's a lot of teams who guys don't play. Last year, you didn't see Garrett Wilson. You didn't see Chris Olave.
Yeah, that's right. Olave was the one I was missing.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
no problem. You know I love you. You know you're my guy.
My guy.
So, like, you will see players. Obviously, I would have loved to see Kenny Pickett play against K9.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see.
But if it was a playoff game, they would have.
I would have loved to see Jabril Peppers play in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I definitely get that, and I do like that side of it. I'm just sticking on the side of, look, I'm the one that's the young guy. Like, I'm the one that usually is, with the young stuff. Maz is traditional, but in this one, and you too.
I have a hard time with change.
You guys are very traditional. In this one, I just am on that side of, it's something
that's true.
I know, right? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's something about working all year and getting to that end, getting to that November and December and holding on to that number 1 ranking or holding on to that number 2 and number 3 and number 4. And know that you guys are the number 4, you're the top 4 teams. You guys are going for the gusto. You guys are going for the gold. And then here comes Minnesota sitting at 11-2.
Well, the 4 are going to sit out. The top 4 will have a bye week. The other 8 are going to beat each other up. Then they're going to beat each other up again. Then they're going to face the final 4, the top 4 guys. That's how it's going to happen. But why don't you like how the NFL does it, like Major League Baseball does it? Why don't you want the lesser teams to have a chance to beat Goliath? That's what I watch sports for.
But see,
I watch sports. I root for the underdog, unless, of course, it's the Yankee. Besides that, I root for the underdogs.
The NFL is different than college. If you're talking about the teams that finish, because it's 14 teams in the NFL playoffs. If you're talking about the teams that finish, 11, 12, 13, 14, them having a chance, look, it's the NFL. Those guys got $100 million contracts on their team, too. I get that. You look at the Cincinnati Bengals last year, snuck into the playoffs, snuck into the Super Bowl, and I have no problem with that. It's a difference in college. Like, you play those 13 games to decide who the top 4, 5, 6 teams are. Like, all that other stuff, like, no. Like, how can you expect me to accept you allowing a team that didn't even finish first on their division in their conference? You're talking about a team that may have finished 4th in their conference. They get a chance to play for the national championship? Hell no.
Oh, no. Come on, Maz.
But think about that.
God forbid.
Hold on, but think about that, Maz. Just answer that. You got a team that
Answer it, Maz.
How about Villanova beating Georgetown?
No, this is both of you.
You wouldn't have that.
It's basketball. I understand, but you keep going to basketball. Basketball is different than football.
It's just playoffs.
No, basketball is 5-on-5. Like, it doesn't matter where you go to school at. You could play basketball. Like, basketball is 5-on-5. That's why you see a lot of upsets. That's why you
Patriots.
That's why you see a market. But Giants Patriots is football. Their defensive line was
amazing. That's what we're talking about.
But their defensive line was amazing. And their defensive line came with the same strategy. And the Patriots, they didn't answer for it. They didn't take it into account. Like, that's football. That's different. It's different than college football, adding 12 teams. That's all I'm saying.
Why does Wayne State in Division II make it work? And we can't make 12 teams work?
Maz, why has this system been the same in the NFL for years, and you didn't say nothing about it, and last year they added 2? Congratulations, it was about money. Now all of a sudden,
Same thing.
I understand, but I don't care. But I don't care about the money side. I'm just speaking from the other side. Money is fine. I'm not making any of it. You guys like it. Y'all not pocketing from it.
I guess.
Fox not paying y'all.
Hell no.
You know what Stick and I were talking about yesterday?
Yeah.
Remember that Wednesday night NFL game 2 years ago? Redskins and Steelers.
What was that for?
It was COVID.
Oh.
It was a Tuesday
COVID
day game, a Wednesday night game.
COVID-19?
Give it to me.
But you keep
give it to me.
But you keep going back to the NFL versus the collegiate level. Like, at the end of the day, we went from 11 games in the regular season in college football Like in a second, there will be more games in college football than there will be in the NFL. There'll be more games. Like so these kids, they just have to, continue to do class as well as play football, as well as deal with, all the pressures and the social medias. And now they're playing 17 games. Now they got all that wear and tear. Now they got, as soon as the season's over with, now they go to winter conditioning. Then they go to spring ball. Then they go to summer training. Then they go to all that. Like, that's not fair. Like, and that's the other side of it. It's not fair.